Millennia, a new 4X strategy game from C-Prompt published by Paradox Interactive. After all, if any company is going to carve out a niche for itself in the Firaxis-dominated Civ space, it's Paradox. On a micro level, plenty of what you'll find works just like it does in Civ. You've got your cities, your settlers, your major competitors, and the minor single-city bit players you're competing for influence over. You'll fend off barbarians and rush for space and resources in the early game, send scouts to explore the frontier, and set workers to improve the resource tiles that surround your cities. Let me now present the top 10 reasons you should consider playing Millennia instead of Civilization. First reason to go for Millennia is its combat system. Combat feels a bit more involved, with step-by-step breakdowns of battles cropping up after you conclude them, so you can delve into the detail of how you won or lost your biggest fights. War is simulated with some interesting mechanics. After raising a few farms, your opponent eventually sued for peace. You then can continue the war, but the longer your warriors spend inside enemy lines, the more unrest you'll have to deal with, which may starting to get quite high in your army. Accepting their peace offer may seem the best option here, and doing so will allow you to claim their city. The next Reason is its usability feature, which will make a playthrough much better. Millennia has done the smart thing and taken one of the best parts of its fellow Civ-like old world. If you don't like a move you just made, you can click the undo button to roll it back. That means you can see exactly how you lost a fight before rolling back a ways to try to rectify your mistake. Where other historical strategy games progress more or less linearly down a predetermined historical path, Millennia gets weird with it. You still progress from one age to the next, bringing about all sorts of cultural, technological, and political developments. You'll be able to adopt ideologies like communism or capitalism later in the game, and to accept or reject religion. But it's not guaranteed which one you'll be moving to. Its economic simulation sounds more robust than many of its peers, too. Supply chains that would go into your production of worldly goods. Making books requires making paper, requires felling trees, and figuring out where to focus your economic attention sounds like it will come with a fair bit of opportunity cost. In Millennia, you get a mix between Anno's supply chains and a typical city builder. There is much potential for multiplayer based on the progression system through the ages. Obviously, in single-player mode, you'll only have yourself to blame when you slip into of these disaster periods. But when you're 4Xing against others, it's a whole different game. When you go into one of these ages, it sets the timeline for everyone in the game, so the first person to set the age guides the historical timeline of your game. And that applies to both crises and variant ages. Ultimately, Millennia's main goal seems to be simply being flexible and letting you drill right down into the details of your civilization. In other games, if you build a forester or a woodcutter, you'll just get some production out of that. In Millennia, if you build a woodcutter, you get logs, and logs are worth production. But logs can also be sent to a saw pit, which gets you additional, compounded bonus production on top of that. Or you can send logs off to a paper maker, which gets you paper, which is a kind of intermediary towards getting books, which could be knowledge or faith-based or administrative documents. Naturally, this being a 4X game, you'll probably want to declare war at some point, which you can do through the diplomacy menu. Unlocking envoys gives you some more interesting options here, such as sending gifts, threatening them, or turn minor nations into vassals, for example. But what is research and war in a 4X game without culture? Millennia's specific culture powers can be described as major historical events, and you'll only get to use these once in a while, whenever you fill up your culture bar effectively. However, play them at the right moment and they could be quite transformative, such as enacting government reforms, creating a new town, or drafting a new army. For example, you may decide to turn one of the outposts you had set up with your pioneer into a proper town, allowing you to expand your territory further and start adding more population to it. Last but not least, the publisher behind Millennia is Paradox, which is known for supporting and developing their games for a long time. Millennia might be not the best 4X game when it will launch, but the chances are high that they will enhance it until it will be.